Welcome to The Explainer. Let's jump right in. You know that incredibly alluring, universally celebrated, yet subtly dangerous fairy tale we've all been sold about love? We've basically been fed this lie since our very first Disney movie. We see it in absolutely every rom-com, and honestly, we kind of secretly harbor it in our own hearts. It's this persistent idea that someone is out there who will just magically complete us. But what if this beautiful dream is actually the very thing sabotaging your happiness?
So, be completely honest with yourself right now. Are you looking for a savior? Are you waiting for that perfect someone to arrive and just magically fix all of your internal problems, erase your insecurities, and make your life whole? Because we so often go into relationships carrying these invisible, massive expectations, essentially hoping another human being will fill an inner void that we haven't been able to heal ourselves.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The Fairy Tale Illusion. Our culture makes us a very specific promise from a really young age, right? It promises us a perfect romantic savior. This fairy tale illusion tells us that love is all about finding someone who fits us flawlessly, someone whose mere presence is going to banish our loneliness forever. But hey, if you've ever felt completely let down in a relationship because your partner just couldn't make you perfectly happy, your experience is entirely valid. The truth is, relying on a partner to solve all your problems leads only to disappointment. The source text we're exploring today reminds us that literally no single person on Earth can meet all your needs. Trying to force a partner into that role, it's like asking them to carry a weight they were absolutely never designed to hold.
This brings us to Section 2, the magical other.
So the crucial point is establishing exactly what we mean when we talk about the magical other. By definition, it is the mythic partner who provides complete fulfillment and meaning. We're not just talking about wanting a good spouse here. No, this is a deeply rooted belief that your romantic partner is the ultimate answer to the perennial struggle of human existence. It's the belief that they are, for sure, the missing puzzle piece to your soul.
But where does this intense, almost desperate desire actually come from? Well, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It often stems from early childhood wounds. Think about it. When we're kids, we're basically blank slates. If there's an absence of other sources of connection, or a lack of unconditional parental love, a rift forms in our worldview. We develop this desire to fill an inner void, and as we grow into adults, we project the massive responsibility of filling that void right onto our romantic partners.
And here is the tragic trap we set for ourselves. We walk into relationships with this huge expectation, a perfect savior who fulfills all our hidden desires. But what is the reality we actually get? A flawed human being with their own struggles. We get a person with their own childhood wounds and their own bad days. The stark contrast between the fairy tale we expect and the messy human reality we actually get is startling, and honestly, it's the birthplace of immense relationship anxiety.
Let's move to Section 3, Projecting the Anima and Animus.
To really understand why we do this, we have to look under the hood of the human mind. Carl Jung proposed that we all carry an unconscious blueprint of masculine and feminine energies inside of us. These are known as the anima and animus. They are inner archetypes of feminine and masculine qualities. Think of them as the ultimate idealized image of a partner living inside your own head. They aren't just passing thoughts. They're powerful, unconscious images of what ideal energy looks and feels like within our own psyche.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the trap snaps shut through psychological projection. This is overlaying inner images onto a partner instead of seeing them realistically. Rather than seeing the actual person sitting across from us at the dinner table, we use them like a blank movie screen. We overlay our own inner archetypes, our anima or animus, onto them. We're literally projecting our own unmet needs and idealized fantasies onto a real breathing human being. You end up falling in love with the projection of your own mind, not the person themselves. Crazy, right?
Which leads us to Section 4, The Inevitable Resentment.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a predictable crisis. What happens when reality inevitably crashes into the fantasy? Because it always does. The movie screen eventually moves, the projection slips, and the relationship goes through this tragic four-step life cycle. Step 1, you get that powerful attraction, that classic love at first sight feeling. Step 2, projection of archetypes. For the first few months, you're convinced they are a literal angel. Step 3, time passes, and their flaws emerge. They get grumpy, they forget things, they fail to read your mind. And finally, Step 4, inevitable resentment. You feel betrayed, not because they did something terribly wrong, but simply because they failed to be your magical other.
I want you to really let this sink in. Expectations in relationships are just resentments waiting to happen. It is so profoundly unfair to expect a flawed human being to live up to a mythic archetype. When you demand perfection, you're essentially demanding that they stop being human. And when they inevitably fail at that impossible task, your expectation sours into a really deep toxic resentment.
The source text actually provides a chillingly honest quote from someone in recovery regarding this dynamic. They said, "I put her in the place of where my higher power should have been." This perfectly highlights the ultimate danger of the magical other. Treating a romantic partner as a deity or the ultimate savior to fix your life, that is a burden no human can bear. It absolutely destroys the relationship, and worse, it prevents you from finding true spiritual and emotional grounding yourself.
All right, let's pivot to the good news in Section 5, Finding Real Love Within.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is a quote from therapist Dawn Carter. Because once you see this toxic pattern, you can actually break it. While making this mistake is a wildly common human experience, when asked about these intense cycles of projection and disappointment, he plainly states that it's normal for an unhealthy relationship. That's a massive flashing dashboard light for us. It tells us we need to stop looking outward for salvation and start healing ourselves inward.
So, the solution requires doing your own inner work. You have to integrate your shadow self and own your inner archetypes. If you have an inner void, it's your responsibility to explore it. If you crave a specific emotional energy, you have to cultivate it within yourself. You simply must take your projections off the other person, reverse them, and own the fact that those fears, desires, and archetypes live inside you. You cannot demand a partner do your psychological heavy lifting.
And you know what? When you finally do that work, a miracle happens. You can finally see your partner as a beautifully flawed equal, not a magical solution. You realize that real love isn't about finding a savior at all. It's about two complete, totally imperfect people choosing to walk side by side, supporting each other without demanding perfection. Real love is profoundly grounded in reality, not in fairy tales.
I want to wrap up this explainer by leaving you with one final, provocative question to chew on today. Look at the relationships in your life right now and ask yourself, are you loving a real person with all their messy human reality, or are you just loving a projection of yourself? The answer to that question might just be the absolute key to the good life you've been looking for. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.